In Casablanca, wealth had a scent, oud and old gold. It lingered in the marble halls of the El Hakim estate, where the widow of Morocco's richest man prepared to auction off her late husband's treasures. Amira El Hakim was a woman who aged like a legend, tall, silver-haired, and draped in silk that whispered when she walked. Her husband Fadil had built an empire from gold and oil, then died in his sleep, leaving her with 3 villas, 6 Bentleys, and a vault of jewels that could blind the sun. The press called her the last queen of Casablanca. But they didn't know that she hadn't stepped inside her husband's bedroom since the night he died. The auction was to be her freedom, a way to finally breathe. She told the curator from Christie's, "Sell everything. I want light in my life again," and so they came. Collectors, royals, socialites from across Africa and Europe. Under the chandeliers of the Hotel Mamounia in Marrakesh, trays of emeralds, diamonds, and rubies glimmered like captured fire. But at the center of it all, in a velvet box alone, lay the necklace. It wasn't the largest or most ornate piece in Fadil's collection, just a thin gold chain woven like river light with a single teardrop pendant. But there was something about it, something alive. It shimmered as if it remembered. When Amira's eyes fell upon it, her hand trembled. She didn't remember ever seeing it in her husband's vault. "Where did this one come from?" she asked the appraiser. He checked his notes. "Unmarked, no record of purchase, but the craftsmanship is remarkable. Possibly 17th century, likely from the south, ancient gold, Moroccan or older." Amira hesitated. "Older," he smiled. "There are whispers it might have come from the Atlas foothills. A shrine that vanished centuries ago." Something cold passed through her spine, but the auction went on. By the end of the night, the necklace was sold to a young French-Moroccan fashion designer named Lina Bekkali, a rising star from Rabat known for fusing traditional Amazigh patterns with Parisian couture. She'd bought it impulsively against her manager's warning. "It's perfect," she said, slipping it on before the cameras. And in the camera lights it gleamed like captured sunlight. That same week, Lina's career exploded. Her collection went viral after a celebrity in Paris wore her gown on the red carpet. Investors called. Magazines wrote. Her bank account multiplied overnight. But 3 nights later, her assistant found her sitting on the floor of her atelier at dawn, trembling. "Madame, are you all right?" Lina's voice was hollow. "Did you hear it?" "Hear what?" "The whisper." No one had heard anything. By the following morning, she had forgotten about it, or forced herself to. But strange things began happening. A dress she'd been sewing ripped apart by itself. A mirror cracked as she passed. And every night at 3:11 a.m. the sound returned, a faint hum like a breath brushing against her ear. One night she pulled the necklace off and threw it across the room. The whisper stopped, but when she picked it up again, she found her fingers covered in a faint golden dust. That morning her phone buzzed with news. Amira El Hakim, 67, dies peacefully in her sleep. Lina froze. The widow, the woman who had sold the necklace, was dead. For a moment, Lina felt dizzy. She remembered how Amira had looked at the necklace that night, the way her hand had trembled. But she brushed it off. Coincidence, she told herself. Just coincidence. Days later, the necklace's glow began to change. At first, it was subtle. The gold deepened, darkened. Then under the light, faint engravings appeared along the pendant's edge. Symbols, tiny, ancient, unreadable. When Lina touched them, her vision flickered. She was no longer in her atelier. She stood in a cave, surrounded by fire and chanting. Men in white robes were pouring molten gold into a mold carved with those same markings. At the center of it all stood a woman, barefoot, her wrists bound, crying as her necklace was pulled from her neck and dropped into the fire. The molten gold swallowed her scream. Lina fell backward, gasping. When she looked again, she was back in her studio, the necklace glowing faintly. She called her friend Rachid, a historian from Fez. "Can you look at this for me?" she asked, voice shaking. When he arrived, he examined the pendant carefully under a magnifying glass. "These symbols, they're old. Older than Arabic script, Proto-Amazigh, maybe Punic. Do you know where this was found?" "It belonged to Amira el-Hakim's husband," Rachid frowned. "Her husband, Fadil, the mining tycoon?" "Yes," he looked up slowly. "He funded illegal excavations years ago near the Tazmamart ruins. There were rumors his workers unearthed a shrine dedicated to Lala Dihya, the warrior queen. They said the gold was sacred, some said cursed. But Fadil shut the dig down. The government never confirmed anything," Lina whispered. "And if the gold came from that shrine?" Rashid's expression turned grim. "Then it was never meant to be owned. It was meant to be guarded." That night, Lina dreamed again. She was in Amira's bedroom. The widow lay motionless, the necklace glowing on her chest. And above her a shadow, golden, formless, whispering in a language Lina didn't understand. She woke up drenched in sweat. By morning her eyes had dark rings. Her reflection in the mirror seemed slower than her movement. And her assistant gasped when she entered the room. "Madam, your hair." Lina touched her head. Strands of silver ran through her black curls. She stared at the necklace on her dresser. It looked harmless, beautiful even. But she could feel it watching her. That evening, desperate, she went to the sea, Essaouira, where the waves crashed against the old Portuguese walls. She stood barefoot in the sand, necklace clutched in her hand. "Take it back," she whispered to the wind. "Whoever you are, whatever you are, take it back." The wind howled in reply. The waves hissed like snakes. And just as she was about to throw the necklace into the ocean, she heard a voice behind her. "Don't." It was Rachid. He had driven from Fez overnight. "If it's truly forged from sacred gold, throwing it into salt water might awaken it further," he said. "You must return it to where it was taken." "Where?" "The shrine beneath Tazmamart." They drove south through the night into the barren hills. The desert air smelled of stone and bone. They reached the site at dawn, a half-buried ruin, silent and wind-torn. Lina walked toward the mouth of the cave, clutching the necklace. Her body felt heavy, her skin cold. Inside, the air shimmered faintly. The cave walls pulsed like veins, and at the center, carved into the rock, was a small altar, the same one from her vision. She placed the necklace upon it. The gold began to melt, slow as honey. A whisper filled the cave, soft, ancient, and mournful. Then came the voice, clear as daylight. "The debt is paid." Lina staggered backward as light burst through the cave. When it cleared, the necklace was gone. Only dust remained. For the first time in weeks, she felt warmth in her chest. Outside, the sky was pink with dawn. 3 days later, her designs appeared on the cover of Vogue Africa. Her fame grew again, but this time she wore no gold. And somewhere in the desert wind, beneath the red hills of Tazmamart, a whisper lingered still, not one of vengeance, but of peace.